very unfortunate. Mr. President, I'd like to shift gears, if I may, and talk about an entirely different subject for just a few minutes, and that is the outdoors of Tennessee and North Carolina. On behalf of Senator Corker and myself, I want to introduce the Tennessee Wilderness Act of 2010. The legislation will implement an important next step in conservation for some of the wildest, most beautiful, and pristine areas in East Tennessee near where I live. To say that these are among the wildest, most pristine and beautiful areas sets a very high bar, since the region is home to the Appalachian Mountains, much of which is managed as if it were a wilderness area, and which is our nation's most visited national park, a World Heritage Site, and in fact, one of the most visited sites in the world. The Great Smoky Mountain National Park. From growing up in these mountains and my many years of hiking the quiet trails of the Cherokee National Forest, I can attest that the wilderness areas we've protected there are something very special. Congress began protecting wilderness areas in the Cherokee National Forest in 1975, with additional wilderness areas being established by the Tennessee Wilderness Act of 1984 and the Wilderness Act of 1986. I was governor of Tennessee during that time, and I remember testifying on behalf of and strongly supporting our congressional delegation as we did that. I know sometimes our Western friends are surprised to see Tennessee Republicans advocating wilderness, bragging about the fact that the Great Smoky Mountain National Park is managed in large extent as if it were a wilderness area, and adding certain sections of the Cherokee National Forest to wilderness. The federal government doesn't own very much of us. We have lots of visitors, 2 or 3 times as many people visit the Great Smokies, for example, as visit Yellowstone. So we have lots of visitors, very little federal land. We like to protect it. We like to have clean air. We like to enjoy it ourselves. And we like the Cherokee National Forest because it gives us an opportunity to do some things we can't do in the national park. We can hunt, fish, ride horses, camp, do things in a great many ways. And I believe that this legislation, the Tennessee Wilderness Act of 2010, will create for Tennessee families, and especially Tennessee youngsters who need to be outdoors and away from the computer screens and the television screens, an even more attractive opportunity to enjoy this beautiful part of our natural heritage. I want to emphasize that the lands that will be designated as wilderness by this legislation are already federal lands. They're part of the Cherokee National Forest. The areas covered were recommended for wilderness by the U.S. Forest Service in the development of its comprehensive 2004 Forest Plan, which included extensive opportunities for public comment. Those areas have been managed as if they were wilderness areas since that time. This new bill will officially designate as wilderness nearly 20,000 acres as recommended by the Forest Service. One of those is 9,000 acres in the Upper Bald River Wilderness in Monroe County. This new area complements the existing Bald River Gorge Wilderness. It lies just south of that existing area, separated only by the Bald River Road, which will, of course, remain an open public road. By protecting the Upper Bald River Wilderness as well as the existing wilderness area, we'll be protecting most of the Bald River watershed. Excellent trails traverse the Upper Bald River area, including the Benton-McKay Trail, offering excellent hiking, backpacking, horseback riding, as well as access for hunters and fishermen. The rest of the lands designated as wilderness in this legislation are relatively small, but important additions to some of the areas that Congress established in 1975 and 84 and 86. They have the effect of better protecting not only ecosystems and watersheds, but also the diverse recreational value of these areas. At the southern end of the Cherokee National Forest is one of the largest national forest wilderness complexes in the southeastern United States. It comprises the Cohutta Wilderness, most of which lies in Georgia, and the Big Frog Wilderness, which is in Polk County, Tennessee. The new legislation makes a small but important addition of 348 acres to the Big Frog Wilderness. The Big Frog-Cohutta combination with adjacent primitive areas creates the largest tract of wilderness on national forest lands in the eastern United States. In the same way, the new legislation makes two small but important additions to the Little Frog Mountain Wilderness, also in Polk County. These additions, totaling 966 acres, were recommended by the Forest Service to give more logical boundaries to the Little Frog Mountain Wilderness and protects the corridor for the Benton-McKay Trail. In Upper East Tennessee, in Unicoi and Washington counties, this new legislation would add nearly 3,000 acres to the Sampson Mountain Wilderness. This is at the heart of a marvelously scenic region of our state. Along these scenic trails, visitors can see flame azalea, mountain laurel, rhododendron, trailing arbutus, crested dwarf iris, mayapple, bloodroot, toothwort, magnolia, dogwood, redbud, and many other flowering plants. The last 2 or 3 months have been the time of year to visit that area, along with many species of shrubs and trees. The 1986 Tennessee Wilderness Act established the Big Laurel Branch Wilderness in Carter and Johnson County at the furthest Upper East Tennessee end of our state. The new legislation proposes to add 4,446 acres, including some 4½ miles of the Appalachian National Scenic Trail. The addition lies along the slopes of Iron Mountain, just north of Watauga Lake, one of the cleanest lakes in America. The final element of the new legislation is an important addition to the Joyce Kilmer Slick Rock Wilderness. Here, visitors will find perhaps the most impressive stands of virgin eastern forest in the United States. The 1,836-acre addition includes remnant old-growth forest. The Benton-McKay Trail passes through the area, making it a popular destination for horseback riders and hikers. Mr. President, this is a simple bill, but it will make a significant contribution for these wild and pristine areas of the Cherokee National Forest. I want to thank and salute the Cherokee National Forest staff, the many citizens of Tennessee who've worked to define these proposals, build grassroots support. The proposals have broad support from outdoors clubs, trail maintenance groups, local businesses, conservation organizations. I specifically want to thank Will Skelton, a Knoxville lawyer who's been instrumental in conservation for decades in Tennessee. No one has done more to help more families appreciate, enjoy, and hike in the Cherokee National Forest than has Will Skelton. And I thank the Tennessee Wild Group for their role in this proposal. We need more opportunities for young Americans to get away from the computer screens and into the American outdoors. East Tennessee provides a beautiful place to do that, and this act will provide more opportunities for that as well. Mr. President, I have further remarks. I see the senator from Kansas here, so I'll just ask consent to include those remarks in the record. I would also like to include in the record the text of the new Tennessee Wilderness Act of 2010, an editorial from the Chattanooga Times-Free Press, and a guest column from the Knoxville News Sentinel.
Without objection.
I thank the President, and I yield the floor.
Mr. President.